Okay, welcome back to A Little Faith. I am your host, Levi Gelano, and I'm with Jennifer DeCossin.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing, Jennifer?
Good. I am glad to have this opportunity to talk with you, Levi.
Yeah, I think you're a new voice to the show. We are announcing you as a co-host now. So we're going to talk a little bit for a few minutes here before we get into our interview. And we plan on doing this kind of every episode from now on. Why don't you tell the audience, the 5 people that listen to this show.
A little bit about myself?
Yeah.
Well, I am Jennifer DeCossin. I live in Chatsworth, California, outside of Los Angeles. I belong to the Simi Hills Ecclesia. I am married I'm going to be 55. So I've been married for 33 years to the same guy, Brother Glenn DeCossin. We have 3 grown children. 2 are baptized, 1 is not. They're all married, and we have 3 grandkids, so I have a little older perspective than Levi. But I've known Levi basically his whole life. So
yeah, that's fun.
I could be his mom.
All right. I already thought about asking that. I mean, technically, when did you guys start attending Mission Hills before it was Simi Hills?
We were never a member of Mission Hills. We were only members of Reseda.
Right.
And that was my home ecclesia. And then we moved to Simi Hills when our youngest was 8 months old. So that would have been 1998.
Okay.
So
since 1998,
we've been
aside from I was traveling and living in New Jersey for 3 years. So besides that period, we've been at the same meeting for a long time. Look at us.
Wow.
25 years.
Crazy. And I've never taught you Sunday school or anything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So
which is not my area of specialty. So
yeah.
I'll be happy to not ever have to teach you Sunday school.
Well, I'm really excited to do this with you, and thank you for joining me. And I should say for people, we're actually in the same room right now.
Yes,
that's
not unusual for Levi and his worldwide family of friends.
Yeah, pretty unusual for my podcast too, because it's been Zooms or Riverside for a long time. The podcast has gone through a lot of generations or iterations. So I've had Steve Johnson was actually technically a co-host at the start, and then Matt Dravenstadt. They both resigned technically. Helen Roberts was our co-host for a very long time, and then we had Mike Nielsen replace her.
So this is just a short-term gig.
Well, it's been about 6 years now.
One co-host a year, so that's good.
Well, I'm hoping that we can change it up because I've never lived in the same place, obviously, as those co-hosts, and we are going to try to change the format in that you and I are hoping to talk before every episode, kind of have 5, 8, 10 minutes before the interviews, instead of the old model for a long time was us just jumping right into an interview and not having time to talk before that.
Have some background to the topic.
Yeah, talk about it a little bit, and able to talk about some other things too, which we're going to do today. So, anyways, thank you. I hope thanks for joining me, and I hope this is beneficial for people. Is the real point.
Great.
Yeah. So today the interview is with Sister Chris Berg from Ohio. She works for the Peace Project, which is a nonprofit kind of Christadelphian run that works in Haiti. Haiti's been through an incredibly rough time. She explains it. I've been really kind of curious about it because Haiti's in the news. They haven't been sending people there for a year and a half, right? She said. And
yeah, it's a long time.
It's hard to comprehend. I think we talk about it in the interview. It's hard for me to comprehend. Literally a country that's with no government.
No government. That's the one interesting thing that I knew about Haiti going in. That I was like, wait, they're in political turmoil right now. I'm sure they must not be sending anyone to Haiti to be volunteering. So I thought that would be interesting to hear what she has to say, because how do they keep up with knowing what's going on with their charitable partners and the things they're running, the schools and things.
Yeah, no government at all is just really sad, wild, place to be. Again, hard for me to even relate to or understand.
Yeah, having gang violence be a prevalent part of your everyday life sounds something we can't understand.
Yeah.
We may have gangs in our communities, but we don't see any visible evidence of that. So, and the extent of the things which she did or has participated in was interesting. I found her interview enlightening, that there's a lot of opportunities, for someone. She mentions in the beginning how she got into volunteering there, and I thought that was an interesting perspective, that she had a goal that she wanted to set for like a timeline of being able to afford to do something like that and how to serve, and it stuck with me.
I noticed that too. She had a really, really strong intentionality. Like, I am going to do something, and I'm waiting, and I'm going to be saving up for it now, and I'm essentially waiting for a calling, which I think she feels like she got.
Or having some guidance from a spiritual guidance on where she should go, and when the time is right.
Really interesting interview. I always was kind of half interested in interviewing her, and then became actually more interested when Haiti actually became a political topic for us a couple months ago. We're going to talk about this now because our next section is we're talking about current events, and we're meeting today. It's November 4th, the day before the presidential election in the United States, and there was one of the things in the million different news cycles that's happened over the last couple of months was they're eating the cats and the dogs, which is what Donald Trump said about the Haitian immigrants in Ohio, where Sister Chris is. And we do touch on that near the end of the interview, and she has a really wise, measured response.
Which is why she made a good interview.
So it was interesting to me how much it became very topical for a little bit. Obviously, now we're going to get this episode out a couple months later, but just fascinating. I think I would say there's just it's very problematic that he said that Donald Trump chose to say that. The generalization was really rough, and so these are people. I think like if any nation should have immigrants, if the United States is going to take in immigrants asylum from any nation, I would say Haiti's probably should be number one.
Right. And I think you can cloud easily the perception of an illegal immigrant versus an asylum seeker.
Yes.
And they're not all lumped into the same category.
Right.
So I don't think general public thinks about immigrants the same way when they could be two different brands or two different styles of immigrants. So and a news article like that isn't going to help.
No, not at all. I'm very excited for the election to be over. I mean, I think I personally have struggled with being distracted by elections in the past. I guess the sport or the spectacle of it, the drama, all the podcasts I listen to about it.
Well, you can't avoid it. I mean, especially in the United States, especially we're in California, which is, one color, that it's very hot topic issue.
Yeah.
So even if amongst your Christadelphian friends, I think I've talked about it with a variety of different people.
Yeah.
Not in any sense of what would you do, but we talked about it in a Sunday school class about how do we respond to telling people we don't vote.
Yeah.
And, examples like that, and how do we navigate those areas. I mean, I think it's a good every 4 years to have that reminder of, what do we do? What don't we do? Why should we do this? And what are our, emotions behind it? So.
Yeah. Been looking forward to the news cycle calming down a little bit, hopefully, one way or the other. Although it's going to be a multiple day process. I think that's one very clear thing.
Or it could be a longer process if you're divided. I mean, I think our household is divided. We don't agree.
You mean we as the American people?
No, my husband and
I. Oh, okay.
No, we are divided. I think we don't agree. And so we come to terms with, okay, this is who is going to be president. How do we navigate this forward?
Yeah.
How we just say, okay, it's over. We're not going to talk about it. We agree to disagree or whatever. We don't have these conversations enough.
Right.
I think not just us personally, but with other people, that I don't agree with you, and sorry, that's your opinion, or that's what the path you're going to go down, or, but it's definitely been it's a subject we avoid talking about at home. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I mean, it can be, it can be something that we can, again, kind of get almost too wrapped up in my opinion. I've been there before, the feeling that, and again, I think it's part of the narrative, part of the hysteria around this election is that there's two sides that at this point in between the kind of mainstream Democratic politics and mainstream Republican politics is look to the other side and say that they're killing people. Like, that's how extreme it can get. You know, it's like, and what I'd like, maybe we could do another podcast episode on this at some point, but what's bothered me the most about politics is that it becomes kind of a salvation system for people. Like, I think a lot of people treat politics as what's going to save the world, and that's replacing religion in my mind. Like, it really is a kind of a failure of the church as a whole, not the Christadelphian church specifically, but the larger church as a whole, that they've kind of given salvation and what's the best thing for the world over to politics.
Interesting. I really never thought of it like that. The I voted sticker is like a badge of honor that you are now, like, standing up for your beliefs. So I can see the parallels there, that you have, what camp you're in. Like, you've made your statement of, this is what I believe.
Right.
So I think, I never made that comparison.
Yeah. So, anyways, looking forward to that being over. So yeah, we're looking at a whiteboard here together, and we're going through kind of our rundown that I hope we can keep in the future episodes. So we introduced you, we got thoughts on review, and then we did current events. And I think the last thing we're going to do every month is something that you would like to plug. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I have two things that are on the top of my mind. We're Jess, Levi's lovely wife, has been very diligent about organizing music in our local community and having some praise events. And we have our first practice for our next upcoming one. And it's, I really like the care she's taken with some other people. We have a good committee of people picking themes and picking the music that fit around a theme. And we have a lot of songs, a lot of Christadelphian artists, and it's amazing to know that there's people out there who can write music that meet our needs and not meet our needs, but get the message across of what we believe. And I love that it's a theme, that we can find music that fits, some kind of overarching topic.
Right.
So that's always exciting. I like singing. I've always been a singer more than anything else, and it's a joyful thing for me to participate in, because there's young people. We're from different ecclesias, and we're from different age ranges and different experience levels, and no one's a professional, but it's super fun. I get a lot out of it, and I'm looking forward to starting, planning for the next one.
Right.
So that's my first thing.
Yeah. What's your other one?
My other one is I'm doing a small project for Meal a Day.
Okay.
Sister Kelly Gelano, who happens to be Levi's mom, is a good friend of mine, and I'm helping put together, I guess you could say, a document on fundraising ideas for Meal a Day. So if you wanted to have your ecclesia support Meal a Day, you could look at this resource and say, oh, great, I want to have a bake sale. Terrific.
Yeah.
Just something to prompt some ideas. So you could, each ecclesia gets a packet and say, hey, we want to support. So what could we do?
Yeah, that's cool.
Within our capacity, you could do something big or ongoing things like collect pennies. So I'm trying to just pull together some ideas. I've had experience with fundraising, so
nice.
It's a good fit for me, but it's just a one-time project. But
yeah. Good
way to help support Christadelphian charity that I think a lot of people don't know about. Know about what the things they do and how can I help? Yeah,
cool. Yeah, that's great. I think anything to help people, like you said, spark ideas will be helpful. When do you think that's going out?
I think their next meeting is in December.
Oh, okay.
So
they'll finalize it then.
Or I'm getting it to them by then. I don't know what their timetable is.
Nice.
What are you looking for?
I was going to plug my friend, Brother Levi Myers' new song. If you go on Spotify and search for Levi Myers, Levi Myers.
Where does he live?
Myers, Canada. He goes to the Cambridge meeting in Ontario, and he has a song that he put out, just a single called Peace of God. That's very fun. It's a very different style. He would even say that it's very modern style. It's very fun to listen to. So I would just suggest that, just kind of new music.
Is all his music the same style, or just this one particular tune?
You might remember he wrote "In the Storm."
Oh, yeah.
We sang it at Idlewild a little bit ago. He wrote that song. So, anyways, yeah, and actually, he's my co-host, or I'm his co-host on another podcast called Good Christadelphian Music, which we don't release episodes all that often at all.
I didn't even know that was a podcast.
Yeah, that's a podcast. There's only 9. I think there's only 9 episodes total. We do like 2 or 3 a year. So
Well, music does come out a little bit
Yeah, a
slower
little slower.
than current events.
So there you go. So there you go. There's another plug. Is good Christadelphian music. If you are running out of podcasts to listen to and you want to hear my voice more,
and they all start with good Christadelphian.
Good Christadelphian, yeah. So
good Christadelphian potlucks will be my next.
Where are you gonna go next?
Potluck themes.
Cool. Well, thank you again, everybody, for listening. Do give us any sort of feedback. We'd love to hear what you think about this kind of long form intro. If you can think of a rename of what we should rename the current events section or the what would you like to plug section, we do need kind of names for that. So if you want to do that, please reach out to me or to Jen and let us know that. And so without further ado, we will get into the Chris Berg interview.
Thanks, everyone.
Welcome back to Little Faith. I have with me Chris Berg. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks. I'm really looking forward to talking with you. But before we get talking about Haiti, can explain to me kind of your relationship to Haiti and how you got involved?
I thought a lot about that before our conversation. And for me, I feel like I have to tell you a little bit of my backstory in order to understand where I am today. And I can try to keep it as brief as possible. I can make it a big, long thing too. But basically, I take myself back to 2015. I've always wanted to do some kind of work somewhere and help people. Like that's always been a passion of mine. But in 2015, I made a decision that I needed to do that. But it wasn't really in a financial state to do it. I mean, you have to have resources in order to be doing stuff like that. So I made a plan, my own financial plan to take care of that. And it took me about 5 years. During that 5 years, I moved back I was living in Maryland. I moved to Ohio. In Ohio, there was a sister here that did work in Jamaica. Okay. She approached me to go in 2016 right after I moved. And I said, no, I can't, not financially there yet. She came back to me the end of 2017, said, how about now? And I thought, I think I could do this. So we set up a trip to Jamaica for March of 2018. And when I started my plan, my goal was to do a trip by 2019. So here we are. I've exceeded my plan. I'm so happy. God is so good. So she ends up sick with cancer and ends up having surgery in February. And it becomes very clear that we're not going to be able to go to Jamaica after all. So, that's a disappointment. But the backup would be I went in January with Beth Lansing down to Richmond, Virginia for a Peace Project in Haiti meeting just to ride with her because it's an 8-hour ride. And while we were there, I spent 8 hours at this meeting just listening, fascinated and thinking, I want to go to Haiti, but I'm going to Jamaica at this point. In my mind, I'm thinking the way that we do this is you go on one trip a year, you use your resources in 1 week of vacation, and that's what you should do. Like, I don't know where I got that from, but that's what I had. So, all right, I'll go maybe next year to Haiti and I'll do this Jamaica trip. I ended up getting the trip canceled 2 weeks before the Haiti trip because they were doing a Bible mission trip in Haiti. And the night that we called off the trip, Beth Lansing calls me and says, hey, I heard your trip's off. Can you come to Haiti instead? So 2 weeks later, I'm on a flight to Haiti and life is very different there. And it's kind of like you get off the plane and your phone says, hi, Verizon is charging you $10 for today. Go ahead, enjoy your internet access, only you have no signal anywhere you go. So, it's like no signal to start. And then you go to a hotel and it's a very, very basic hotel. There's nothing wrong with it. It's clean. It's just very basic. In contrast to a couple months before, I had done a work trip to this major, it was a conference. So it was a major hotel, 5 restaurants, a lot of things. So I go from this crazy luxurious place to this place that has just your basic needs. And I noticed it. And then the next day we get in the van and we're going to drive 10 miles across town. It's a crazy place for traffic. There's no stop signs and traffic lights. You're going across the city and everybody just works together. There are people everywhere. Everybody's selling everything. There are 20 people in a little van. They're just piled on top of each other. There's trash in the streets. It's dirty. It's crazy. And I'm thinking, what have I done? And so I get to the place where we're going to host the Bible conference and we are just working on some things there on Friday. And by the time I spend a little time with some Haitians and then we drive back at the end of the day, I think to myself, on the way there, I'm thinking, we could pick up that trash. We could do this. We could do that. But I had already figured out that that's not what they want. They don't want Americans to come in and rescue them and make it America. They want ability to improve their own country. So I left. I didn't know if I'd ever get to go back to Haiti again. I came on this one trip and I didn't know how it worked. But what ended up happening is I'm in this situation. I'm reviewing all of my resources. I'm doing a lot of things. I'm a member of a gym at my work in the basement. It's like $10 a paycheck kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't go. I decide, all right, if you're not going to go to the gym, then you need to give that money to the Peace Project. But first, you should try. So devote yourself. So in May, I devote myself. I'm going to go every day that I'm working. I get there about 2 weeks in. I'm doing something with my legs and I'm looking at my legs and I think, you're getting muscle. And then I have to back up real quick to January when I was at that meeting in Peace Project. Steve Johnson came up during a break and said, hey, we also are going to a build in the Dominican Republic in July. Would you have any interest in that? It's like, build a house in July in the Dominican.
Sounds pretty hot.
No interest whatsoever. And I only do one trip a year, so no. So I haven't thought about this trip, but I'm sitting on this machine. I notice that I'm getting muscles. And I think I hear this voice that just says, you should do the build. And I'm thinking, where did that come from? Because it's not like I'd been considering it. It was no. And a couple more times that happened in 24 hours. So I reached out to Steve and I said, hey, I think I want to go on the build. He's like, great. Wow. Well, in the meantime, I've come back from Haiti. I'm just talking to everybody. It's what I do. I'm a talker. So I'm in the grocery store and I'm saying, wow, we got this electricity. And I just got back from Haiti and they don't have all this stuff and it's crazy. And I tell her a little bit more about what's going on while we're in line. And she hands me $5 and says, give this to that school. That's really good. Over the course of 3 weeks, I raised $1,000. I didn't ask anybody for money. Just I'm telling them I'm excited. I'm passionate. They're giving me money. So I go on this trip to the Dominican and I do one of the evening devotions. And my evening devotion was one person can make a difference. Yeah, and at that point, Steve doesn't know it, but I've raised $5,000. I've done a garage sale through our church. We've sold candy bars. We did T-shirts. I sold some of my own things because when I moved back from Maryland to Ohio, I moved in with my parents. I just didn't need everything. And I thought, I don't need this. I'm going to donate the money to Haiti. So I did this talk, 15-minute talk about serving others and how one person can make a difference. And if you don't think you can, you can. Here's a check for $5,000 to Haiti Peace Project. And 2 weeks later, they asked me to be on the board as the secretary. So that's how it ended up happening. It was over a course of, December to the end of July, basically. And so now I know I'm going to go back to Haiti. And you had asked me how many trips. I counted it up on my passport. It's 20. I've made 20 trips. Wow. So I was going 4 times a year at that point.
That's amazing. 20 trips to Haiti. Wow.
You can't. It's a different culture. It's a different language. It's just everything is different there. So you can't understand the need unless you go. I can come back and talk to people, but it has a different meaning when you see it with your own eyes.
Yeah. So, wow. Yeah. Thank you for that whole story. I think that's really good. And I think so. It does end up now, and you're still in the same position as the secretary of the Peace Project.
No. So I was the secretary for a couple of years. Steve Johnson founded that. The Peace Project in Haiti is the official name, but Steve Johnson founded it, and Steve wanted somebody that would step in. He watched a couple of his cohorts just basically pass away suddenly. And so he felt it was time to pass the ropes on. So he's the founder and I'm the chairman, and we kind of just make a team for that. We have a board, but we're the ones that go to Haiti the most. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I thought, so yeah, and that's really why I wanted to talk to you about this, to kind of get an update on the Peace Project. And that's good to know you're the chairman. So that's kind of your official title there. The other thing I thought it would be worth doing because some people maybe have heard the word Haiti before. I mean, obviously it's been in the news recently, but also with the terrible hurricanes they've had. I guess it's probably worth just establishing some facts for people that Haiti is on an island in the Caribbean. It's the same island as the Dominican Republic.
Yeah,
it's another half
2 hours south of Miami. It's a quick flight down. It's the same time zone, so that part's nice. It's an easy get to. It's an easy get to, but it's not easy once you're there, and especially now.
And it's gotten worse probably in the time since you've been going. So you said your first trip was in 2016?
2018. Yeah.
Okay. And when was the last time you went?
It was January of 23, so we're going on 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been
and
a
you
long
haven't been
time.
back due to the political climate there. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So in 2018, things started to get worse there. In fact, when we did the build, we had one of our Haitians come on the bus over, but he couldn't get to the border to get on the bus. The roads were they do this thing called pays lock. And now they don't do it so much, but for a while that was basically it's a protest. They get in the streets, they block the streets, they burn tires. And it's madness to me because it doesn't work. You get out there and you protest day in and day out, but nothing ever changes. You have to do something different to try and affect the change. You're just not getting that change. But that's when things started to get worse. But then there was a UN mission going on in there to kind of keep things under control. And that ended and they left. And then the gangs started to move in. So there was always gangs, but they weren't as powerful as they are now. And then there's the issue that the U.S. somehow is a lot of guns and ammunition and things are coming from the U.S. over to Haiti in spite of all the controls and things that are supposed to be in place to prevent it. It's still happening. So these gangs have come in, and I forget how many there are, but they're saying now that they have 80% of Port-au-Prince. We're 10 miles from Port-au-Prince to the west. They're now in our town, and they've moved past our town. So they're spreading out. And Kenya's there now. There's an initiative that the U.S. is helping to fund, but won't lead because of past bad experiences that have happened when the U.S. has tried to jump in there.
It was on. I'm just reading an article because I wanted to get the date right. They had their president assassinated in July of 21.
Yeah, 2021.
And there hasn't been a president since then, which is hard to understand.
Yeah.
And another number I just read was in 2023, there was 72% more kidnappings year over year than 2022.
Yeah, it's a business.
That's crazy.
It's really a shame, but it's a business. When I was down there, I worked for Progressive, and they gave me a 3-month leave of absence to go down there. Uh-huh. And while I was down there, I have a back problem. And I ended up seeing an American doctor down there, and he sent me to a Haitian American physical therapist. And so I treated with her while I was down there. And then later she was kidnapped. And she was released, and they never said how much was paid, but I'm sure her family is pretty well known for what they do for Haiti. There's a bunch of Haitian people that live in the U.S. So I know people. I didn't know, like, we had the 2 people that were murdered not too long ago in Haiti. I didn't know them personally, but I was aware of them. I knew of them. And it's before that, I think that we had this illusion that if you were American, you were sort of safe. And that kind of shattered that illusion that it doesn't matter who you are, I mean, you can end up in the wrong place, because we had the 17 missionaries that have their headquarters, that they went into a place that wasn't a safe place trying to do their job, and they were kidnapped and eventually released. So you weren't safe, but nobody had been murdered like they were.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, really crazy. It's been so hard to even comprehend. I mean, having a country basically with no government. But I guess tell us more about the actual Peace Project and the people that Peace Project in Haiti works with there.
Yeah.
And the location and stuff.
So Peace Project is largely based out of Kafou. It's Carrefour, but we say Kafou. It is 10 miles to the west of the capital, Port-au-Prince. And we've done different things to go. When I first started going, you would go fly into the airport, you would stay at a hotel, you would drive across town. It would be crazy. It could take anywhere from an hour to 5 hours, depending on traffic. That's crazy. Then it got bad, and there's a place called Martesant that is between our city and the capital, and you couldn't drive through there. So then we started going a 3-hour trip around over the mountains, and in order to try and get there safely. And then that became unpredictable. So then we started flying into Port-au-Prince and picking up a puddle jumper over to the far west side of the country and driving back 5 hours.
Wow.
To try and overcome this, because we think it's really important to see our people. But Peace Project, it started with, there was one school that was being funded by meal a day. And then they wanted to build a structure because the building that they were in was rented. It was 3 stories and it was a nightmare. And with 4, if there's a earthquake, if there was going to be an earthquake, we talked all the time about that. We expected to get a call saying, hey, can you come help us dig the children out? Because the building was not one that would be designed to stand up if there was an earthquake. And Peace Project was formed out of Meal a Day as a separate entity with the idea that we would build the building and it's kind of turned into, we took over all of the Haiti operations. So there's a school, then there was Bible conferences that was not part of Peace Project, but were happening. And then from those Bible conferences, we met another gentleman, and he was coming to all the conferences. We ended up funding him partially to assist him because he was also running a school. Then we have our interpreters that we're getting to know, and, we're going time and time, and the same people. We're establishing these relationships. And one of the interpreters approached us and said, hey, I'd really like to put a school up on this mountain where there's no school. So he writes up a proposal, and we had seen, he had been part of our food relief. He wasn't one of our directors, but he was part of our food relief, where we would send down money for food, and then they would buy the food and they would distribute, rice and beans and fish and oil and things like that. You would get a little package that would maybe sustain your family for a week at a time. And so he did a really great job, showed some organizational skills, had some education background, was a teacher at one point, gave us his credentials, and we saw how organized he was. And then he put together a proposal that was really good. So we added him as a school. So we decided that we would fund more of the school that we were partially helping. So we were up to 3 schools, and then that was about 400 students. It depends, because the last school was supposed to be smaller, but it had a lot of student influx. So it was more after time, but we were designed to be 400 students, plus the staff would be earning a living and feeding their families. So we thought it was really a good initiative to have. Then we had a driver that would pick us up and drive us across town, keep us safe. He spoke reasonably good English, pretty good English. He was an agronomist by trade, and he ended up doing a small space gardening program at the first school that we were working with. And it was beautiful. He had tires in there. He had flowers and vegetables growing. And he was just teaching the kids that, hey, we're in this, city area, but you still can grow something here. And expanded it to one of the other schools. But then he came to us and asked if he could do an agricultural program. And he put together a complete program. So he is our fourth program. He is running an agricultural program for 75 farmers in 3 communities, and their families participate. They have a business side of things where he has 5 people in each community that oversee who gets to be in, keep track of what's passed out, decide if somebody needs to be kicked out of the program because they're not showing up or what. So he has this management team. He goes in and he teaches them about terracing. What should you be growing now? How should you be planting? When should you be putting on anything as far as an insecticide or a fertilizer? Then when you harvest, we didn't expect this. This was a bonus. He meets with them and talks to them about, okay, you got all this corn. You can only eat so much corn. Put the corn aside that you want. And then what are you going to do with the rest? And then they talked about a business plan to sell the corn. And that was amazing. But then he also added a literacy program because a lot of the farmers don't know how to read and write. So they sign their name with an X. So he's teaching literacy to these guys too. So that is the fourth program. The fifth program is a vocational school. Another interpreter that was already running a vocational school says, hey, can you work with us? I think I'm doing this, but I think I could do it better if I had some support from you. He puts together a business plan, and he's got tiling, electrical, plumbing, tailor, and sewing, and something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry. But so he ran that for 2 years. Right now, he's in the process of trying to set it up in another city because he can't run it in the city where the gangs are. So he's out about 30 minutes past there trying to kind of reset it. And we hope that if he sets that up, then we can come back at some point and redo the one that was already in existence in our initial community. But this puts us in another area, so we've spread out a little bit. And then the last piece we have is a microloan program. And we had somebody who suggested that we do a microloan program. So we met with people in the U.S. How have you done it? We met with a Haitian. He was really good. He was so good. We asked him, we sat with him, told him what we were looking for. He put it together. And then it was so good, we said, will you run it? And so he's going on, I think, his third year of running a microloan program where they might give you 100, 400, but you have a payment plan and you have to pay it all back.
Yeah, wow.
So a lot going on down there.
Yeah, well, as you were talking, I'm on the website, which is peaceprojecthaiti.org. And there's some details and pictures of all the programs on there too, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, we've got big dreams in that PEACE stands for Promoting Education and Community Empowerment. And we would love more community empowerment, but we do feel that the agricultural program has allowed some of that.
Right.
In fact, they're running businesses and able to support themselves. The microloan program's kind of doing that. But we'd like to establish that with the older children where maybe they come every Wednesday and they start learning. One, they have a safe space to go and have organized activities. But two, maybe they learn how to do some kind of trade or some means to try and start making some money.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, for all that information on the different programs. I know, and I've been sitting here thinking about how hard it must be to not have been back there now for almost, over a year and a half, almost 2 years. What's something that's pressing on your mind that you really want to do whenever you get back to Haiti? Which I guess talk about. You're probably waiting for things to calm down there. Do you have any plans on going back? Or
yeah, first I would say that right now there is an initiative to try and take the country back from the gangs, but it's very slow moving and it's been in the works for quite a while. They've got to get rid of the gang control so that they can actually hold elections. So there's 400 plus Kenyans. There's some Jamaican people coming, like soldiers from other countries that are coming in, and they're getting, it's a slow start, but hopefully they will get things in order. There's a group that was established as like an interim government in the meantime because the goal is they need to hold elections. So they have people in place that will be able to try and maintain control or do whatever needs to be done. The president, when that happened, it was just a terrible, terrible thing that happened. And at the time, there weren't a lot of elected officials already. There was problems. And he, losing him and the shock and everything that happened, and then nobody's an official now. It's been a rough ride for them. So hopefully that will take off. And in the next couple of years, we will be able to go back down there. But when I go, we rebuilt that school that I said was about to fall down. Right. So we bought land and we built a state-of-the-art school. And it just it was one of those moments where something just drops in your lap. Steve Johnson got a phone call from a company called TechServe, and they had this rock bottom price on a building that had been purchased for Nicaragua. Nicaragua was bad. They had to ship the whole container back, and they gave us this Like, we didn't know how we were going to build a building, because how do you get plans? How do you, we're not builders. How much money do we need? We need $1 million. We need that, we don't know. And how do you say we need money for a building, but we have no plans in place to build a building,
Right.
So when this happened, we had money, and it was enough money that we could get started on the building. So we shipped the building down there. We built this. It's an iron building. It goes down into the ground. It's supposed to help if there's an earthquake. It's supposed to, withstand those things. It's better for if there's a hurricane. So it's a good building. It's a 2-story building in the front and a single story in the back. They have, I think it's 14 classes in the back. Then they have an all-purpose room and some area above for offices,
right,
and possibly other classrooms. So it's a nice state-of-the-art new building. And that campus opened a couple of years ago. Then we bought another piece of land and bought another building from TechServe that was supposed to be the high school. It was going to be a 2-story building, the high school and the vocational school. So one would be on the top, one would be on the bottom. The building is there. It's started. All the materials are there to build the building, but we can't go. And they don't know how to build the building. They can't do it without us. We need TechServe comes down as part of their support and oversees the building of the building. So there's nothing that can be done right now. So the first thing I would say is I would love to see this building finished. It would be great. And they're about 2 blocks from each other, but it would be great to have these 2 state-of-the-art buildings.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. Definitely. I guess Haiti was in the news recently with the Donald Trump and J.D. Vance talking about eating the Haitian immigrants in the United States eating cats and dogs. Did you have any feelings when you heard that stuff? From what you know of the Haitian people and stuff?
Yeah. Haitians that I know do not eat dogs. Dogs are for guarding your property and pets. They're not something that you eat. I won't say that I've never heard of a cat being eaten, but it's not a common, you don't go to the market and buy a cat,
Right.
So I'm not going to say it never could happen, but I was really saddened by the whole situation because, one, the person who started it retracted their statement, and yet we keep trying to say it's happening. But even if somebody comes into, say somebody comes into your community and says, a Haitian ate my cat disappeared. I'm sorry, you have a cat outside and there's cars, there's other things that happen. Your cat gets hit by a car, your city picks up that dead animal and takes it away. A Haitian did not eat that animal,
Right.
So it's kind of an unfair thing. And it really leads to something else that I had been thinking about. In the absence of being able to go to Haiti, I've been doing a lot of other things. I've gone to a couple conferences to learn, and speak with other people that go to Haiti. But I went to Indiana to meet with a woman that she does a lot of the paperwork for people that are coming in. And so she's working with them. And I went to meet with her because I have a friend that came on the Biden program. And when she came, she speaks some English. She has gone to school and taught 3rd grade in Haiti. She makes shoes. I have a pair of shoes. They're very professional. She did makeup and hair. She's done other things too, but she was running a small business when she came over. Her people, so she's a hard worker, an entrepreneur, always trying to make money. She goes to Pennsylvania. Her people tell her to apply for a job at Walmart. So she does. And it's a warehouse that she applies there. It's a community that has a lot of Haitian people there. So her lack of English won't matter because they'll speak to her in Creole. So she applies. This is like in January. And in May, she's still waiting. That's the only place she's applied because she doesn't know she can apply at 25 places if she wants to. They told her apply here. So she waits. So she was a drain on the resources of the people that were having to house her and feed her and everything for a while. And then eventually she got the job. So she's got the job and now she's in an apartment. She's sending money back to Haiti, but she doesn't know. And that's why I went to meet with the woman because I wanted to better understand how to help someone. They don't know how we do things here. So you have somebody immigrate and then they don't know this country. And you expect them to just walk in and be an upstanding citizen, but they don't know. I go to Haiti. I didn't know, So I have a real empathy for what they're feeling when they come here. And, it's really rough.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest thing about all of that is that I've been tracing my own ancestry. And unless you're a Native American, at some point you can go back and figure out when your parents came over, or when your ancestors came over. So why was it okay for your ancestors, but we don't want to have any immigration now at this point, So and they're not taking the jobs.
No.
There's a lot of jobs where you go to a restaurant, they can't seat you for an hour because they don't have enough staff. You go to a hotel, they're like, this happened to me when I was in Texas earlier this year. We don't have a person to clean because she's sick today. So we're sorry, and the next day she's in and she's someone that speaks Spanish. So she may have been born here or she may be an immigrant. I don't know. But, she's not your traditional American person that looks like me. And so it's like, that's not taking my job. I'm not cleaning a hotel. I'm not, bussing a table or whatever. So we can use people to take some of those jobs, and they're happy to do them.
Right. Yeah, very sad. I totally agree. I think the whole narrative around immigration in the country is really sad, especially I think when Haiti, like Haitians specifically, were, I think, kind of targeted by those statements, even though they're just one of many different national groups that are, that have asylum status in the United States. And I think, again, it's like a particularly, especially knowing the history and, Haiti and where those people come from, to then single them out that way in that with the eating cats and dogs statement was really heartbreaking for me. And I think in the bigger picture on the immigration, I mean, we have a unemployment problem. Like we need workers in every state in the union. So it's really, really, like you're saying, the restaurant experience is totally a good example of just like, we need people to work, if people are willing to work.
Yeah.
So I would hope that, but I mean, who knows? Now I'm just really screaming in the wind when I'm saying I want things to be figured out politically in our country, because it's never going to happen. But I guess I am still thankful that the relative peace that we have in comparison to Haiti.
I have to say, going to Haiti, the first trips that I made, I thought, this is the craziest place ever. And, they're protesting and burning these tires and just different things. And then as some things happened politically here, I wasn't as surprised as some people because I'd been exposed to some of that in another country, I don't know. It's hard. I personally would volunteer. And I actually offered to go to another city, not Springfield, Ohio, but another place. I said I would go once a month and work with. There's 2 hotels filled with Haitians, 4 to a room, and I would go and help. They don't know how to apply for jobs. Yeah. They don't know how to maneuver some of these things. And if we help them with that little bit, it doesn't have to cost anything. But if we can help them get those jobs, then they can take care of themselves. Right. Instead we argue that they don't belong here. Well, who does? Who belongs here?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you for so much of your time. I really would encourage anyone who's listening to this to go to your website, peaceprojecthaiti.org. And they can probably find you on Facebook and ask you any questions.
Yep. We have a website we have a Facebook page. Yes.
Facebook page as well. Yeah. So please, anyone who wants to donate money, especially, or find out other ways they can help, please reach out. And thank you again for your time, Chris, and for the work that you're doing.
Thanks for having me. I love to talk about Haiti. So.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.